Have you ever had that feeling, like you're surrounded by people online,
Mm-hmm.
but somehow you still feel completely alone?
Yeah.
It's a weird paradox,
It
right?
is. It really is.
That's what we're going to be diving deep into today, using Professor Crispy's article, Why We Feel More Alone Than Ever.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, have you read through it?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a really interesting take, I think.
it is. And he starts out with this line, and it really struck me.
Okay.
It's strange how you could be surrounded by people, online likes, comments, messages,
Right.
yet still feel this quiet kind of loneliness, the kind that settles in at the end of the day when the screen is off and there's nothing left to scroll.
Wow. Yeah.
Have you felt that, like, that disconnect?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what he calls that? He calls it the illusion of connection.
The illusion of connection.
Yeah.
So explain that a little bit more for me.
Well, the internet kind of promised us, this world without loneliness, right? But for a lot of people, it seems like the opposite is true.
Hmm.
And I think one of the reasons is this, social media kind of encourages us to curate a version of ourselves.
Mhm.
We're showcasing the highlight reel, the best angles, the witty comments.
Right.
It's less about genuine connection and more about just crafting a desirable image.
It's almost like we're looking at shop windows.
Yeah,
You see it, but you don't really experience it.
that's a great analogy. Yeah.
And Professor Crispy says this,
Okay.
you watch people's lives through tiny square snapshots of their best moments, their loudest joys, their carefully curated selves.
Yeah.
And in return, you do the same. You post, you perform, you seep up.
It's exhausting.
Does that resonate with you, Doc?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the danger of this constant performance is that it leads to comparison,
Yeah.
We're just constantly bombarded with these like idealized versions of other people,
Mhm.
which just makes us feel, inadequate and even more isolated.
Right. And it's a vicious cycle.
It is. It really is.
So is that what's driving this illusion of connection?
I think it's a major factor,
Right.
but Professor Crispy also points to another element, and that's information overload.
Oh, okay.
We're constantly plugged in, we're inundated with news notifications and updates,
Mm-hmm.
and it's relentless and it can be really overwhelming, and I think it actually hinders our ability to form meaningful connections.
He says, and the more people we have access to, the less any one person seems to matter.
Right.
Infinite connections, but no anchor.
Exactly.
So it's like the more connections we have, the less they mean.
Yeah, it's like we're spreading ourselves so thin across, all these superficial interactions
Right.
that we're sacrificing the depth and presence that's required for real connection.
So what do we do?
Well,
How do we combat this?
that's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Professor Crispy, I think he challenges us to be more intentional
Okay.
about how we're engaging with technology
Mm-hmm.
and to actually actively cultivate authentic connection in our lives.
So what would that look like?
Well, it could be, consciously limiting your screen time,
Okay.
being more present in those offline interactions, and really prioritizing deeper conversations over those superficial exchanges.
So instead of just, liking a post,
Exactly.
you're actually reaching out, having a conversation.
Yeah, ask questions, share your own perspective,
Build a connection.
build a real connection. Yeah.
It's like shifting from quantity to quality
I like that. Yeah.
in all of our interactions.
Absolutely. Both online and offline, for sure.
This is really powerful stuff.
It is.
I mean, Professor Crispy leaves us with this. Isn't it strange to be more connected than ever and yet feel this alone?
It's really thought-provoking.
It is.
It really highlights the complexities of human connection in this digital age.
Yeah.
And it invites us to really examine our own relationship with technology and how it impacts, our sense of belonging.
Well, that wraps up this deep dive into the illusion of connection
Yes.
and, how we can cultivate more meaningful relationships.
Great topic.
Hopefully this has given you some food for thought
Yeah.
about, how you can foster those more authentic connections in your own life.
It's so important.
It is. So thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And remember, the key to feeling less alone might just be to be more present in the connections we already have.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us,
My pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.
See ya.